This time I'm going to change the value of the block 2 in sector 6. So when you click on the read, you see the current values, which the default value set to 000. Instead of writing the hexadecimal values here, I'm going to use the text data. So when you click on the text, it shows you the text equivalent of the hex values. I'm going to type in as hello world, enter. So the 48 is the ASCII equivalent of the capital H. So once you got that, click on a write. It says write OK. Let's go back to the dump screen and just check that everything is fine. So while there is activity going on in the box, you should see a green flashing light. If something goes wrong, either because the key is wrong or something, some exception has gone in there, you should see the red light. So as you can see here, let's go back, and first of all I'm going to see this in ASCII mode and go to the sector 6 and the second block. So one thing to notice here is every sector has got 4 blocks, and some blocks have been grayed out, and this is a special block called sector trailer. So I'm going to explain in other videos the basics about sector trailer, but keep in mind it is inside this block where the key A, key B and all the access rights are stored. So it's not advisable to write anything directly on the sector trailer. You might make this RFID unreadable. So go back to the operation. So assume that this time I want to change the key of, say, sector, just play with sector 1. So this time first you have to authenticate. So when you get this message, that means this key is valid. So as I mentioned before, all these new cards come with the default key with the values all FFFs. Okay, assume that I want to change this to something different. Maybe I've returned I want to give this a customer and I don't want that to be the default, so change the key to A3 to A5. So I want the key A of sector 1. Keep in mind every sector has got its own values for key A and key B. So let's try with the sector 1. So after you do that, click on change. So it says key A for sector 1 is changed. Say from now on the key A of sector 1 is A0. You have to remember that, otherwise you cannot access the sector 1 at all. So let's go back to sector 2, and when the sector 2, we haven't modified the key Z, it's still set to the default FFs. So if I click on this button called factory, you get back this, okay, authenticate successful. Let us try to go back to sector 1 and use this default key and see what happens. When you try to authenticate, it says authentication failed. The bottom of the screen, this is the error you get from the RFID library. It says there's something wrong here, there is something authenticate error in communication. So what do? In this case, say you first have to stop, click on a stop and select again. Okay, so now it's proper. So in order to authenticate, you know that we just changed the values of the key to A1, A2, A3, sorry, it's A3, A4 and A5, and authenticate, it's fine. So I'm going to change it back to the default so that I can show you the other operations I've got in the software. So I'm going to set it back to the factory. So to do that, click on the factory, you get all FFFs, then say change. So I've changed. Okay, so likewise you can change the values of key A. It's very similar. Assume that you want to change the values of key B. So let us try to do that with this sector 4. Say I'm going to set this this time that I'm going to have a nice key here. Say call this as hello. Okay, so the key is called hello, or let's make it simple so that I remember later. So 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, that's the value of the key. So I've already authenticated the sector 4 using key A. I just can go and click the change. So as you can see, sector B for key B for sector 4 is changed. Let us go back and read the values. So this time I'm going to read the values of the sector trailer. As I mentioned before, sector trailer is the block that stores the values of key A and key B. Let's try to read the value of the sector trailer, the block 3. Read. So as you can see here, the first 6 bytes corresponds to key A. We can never see the value of the key A, it's always hidden. So that's one way it's very secure. The remaining 4 bytes are access rights, which I'm going to explain in my later videos, and the last 6 bytes is the value of the key B. In this scenario, the key B is readable. So as you can see here, we change the key B to 31, 32, 33. So it's exactly what you see here. So key B is readable, so you can see that the last 6 bytes carries the key B. I can go and change back the key to factory setting again. So go back here and say change. So change again, read. You can see that you got back the FFF. Okay. Alright. So just below the data block is where the access conditions are. As soon as we issue a read operation, this section shows what is the current access rights for this block. As you can see here, the block 3, which is the sector trailer, has access rights of 1, is 001, and this means lot of things actually. So right now, access condition 1 means key A is writable with key A, access bits are readable. You can read key A and write key A, and the key B is readable using key A and writable in key A. Okay, I'm going to explain this in detail in later videos, but if you change this sector to 0, block to 0 and give a read, as you can see that 0 block is a data block which has got a default access rights as 000. It means I can read and write using key A or key B. I can write using key or key B. I can increment A or B, decrement, transfer, and restore using A or B. So this access condition 0 is called as a transport configuration. So if you go to block 1, and that's a transport configuration. If you go to the screen dump, you can see the default access rights for all the blocks in the RFID card. Okay, so here against each block you got access rights. It says 001. The default access right for sector trailer is 1. The default access rights for other blocks is 0. So likewise. So next thing you're going to see is the utility screen. This section of the software allows you to do the bulk operations. Assume that I want the way you operate that is pretty easy. You just have to make a nice sentence here. Using key A from sectors 0 and 15, change the key or change the block. Assume that I want to change the data blocks of the entire card to hello world. So choose the hello world and click right now. So what's happening? You can see the flashing green light. So every data block is changed with the data hello world, and this would take some time. So right now it says when you see the message return okay, everything is done, go back to the dump screen, and this time again click go again. So because we have written a very nice string, the hello world, it's we can see the data in the ASCII mode. You can still see it's flashing green. Okay, ASCII mode, as you can see here, every block except the manufacture block. See, manufacture block cannot be modified. Every block has got hello world, and again the sector trail is not modifiable as well.